Well, hello, welcome again to a reading of Homer's Odyssey, Book 4, and I got up to line 37. And in the earlier bit, we've had this slightly comic scene where one of Menelaus's friends or stewards, Eteonius, had spied Telemachos and Peisistratos at the doorway, and he'd gone off to his master and said, "Shall I invite them in, or will I send them off somewhere else?" And Menelaus says, "Have you were not always so stupid. Bring them in, because we also once were strangers, and we lived off. We were looked after in the hope that Zeus might one day cause an end to our grief." And so that's where we ended up last time, and it continues on. Hos Ephat, thus he spoke. But he, now this is referring back to Eteonius, de-esuto, this is from de-esuo, often spelt with a sigma epsilon, upsilon, double sigma for the sake of meter. It means to hasten or hurry, and then through. It's taking a genitive here. So he hastened through the hall, and kekleto, now this is a reduplicated aorist, a reduplicated or apocrypated aorist from kelomai, so meaning to bid. So he bid the other trusty servants. Spesthai is from hepamai, it's the aorist middle infinitive. So meaning to follow, and it generally takes a dative, but we have a hummer here along as well. So he bid the other trusty servants to follow at the same time, and then we get this heoi auto, which is like he auto in later Greek. It's just a reflexive. It's he plus a dative ending and then auto. So it's literally to follow himself, because he is the subject of the sentence, so we need a reflexive. So he bid the other trusty servants to follow along with him, and they. Now we get a men, and not sure where the corresponding det is. Probably down here. So they untied, perhaps, or released. Unhitched the horses from under the yoke, the horses which were sweating. This is from hydro. So this goes with hippus. So they loosened the horses from under the yoke, the sweating horses from under the yoke, and we get another men. They tied them. Now this is this is a hippeos, is an adjective, horsey, to do with horses, and the cappe, this is a dative plural. Cappe in the singular means like a horse's crib or manger, perhaps the horse's stall. So they tied them up at the horse's stall, it's plural, ebelon, and they cast beside them, they threw beside them zeas, this is spelt, as in spelt, it's a kind of grain. Ana decree lukon emixan. Now the ana, I think, goes with the mixan from mignumi. So they mixed up white cree, or something like barley. So this is for the horses. But the chariots. So this men will go with this det. So this is what they did to the horses, and then the chariots, eklinen, they rested them upon, inclined them against the enopia pam fan oonta. This is a difficult word. Its meaning's not exactly clear. It either means the facade of the outer wall of the courtyard, or perhaps on the side walls of the porch, say the commentators. And the pam phano onta, this is a reduplicated form from phino, The mu is simply a nasal infix here. So it means gleaming. So they inclined the chariots. So with the chariots, once they've got the horses out, you've got the chariot and the two bars that attach to the horses, and you can place them upright against the wall. So they inclined the chariots, perhaps against the gleaming, perhaps outer walls, or the walls of the courtyard. And now this is I think that probably goes with the men we had earlier on. So, but they brought them, that is the men, into the glorious house. They led them into the divine house. Hoi de idontes, and they sing Thaumazdon imperfect. They were startled, they were amazed. And then kata, about the house, or at the house we might say, of the king nourished by Zeus. So they, when they saw it, they were amazed. It's sort of looking at the house of the king nourished by Zeus. Hostega a Eliu aigle pelin a selenes doma kathopserefes Menelaus kudalimoio. And something like, perhaps, the accent on the hose is from the te, so the subject is here. So the subject here is the aigle, which means brightness. So that's the subject. So the brightness of the sun was pelin from pello, pelamai, or pello, simply like the verb to be. So the brightness, so it was like the brightness of the sun or of the moon, was that of the the brightness up and down the house, the high-roofed house of glorious Menelaus, was like that of the sun and of the moon. Slightly tricky verse there. This we've had this one before. I think the hoops from hoopsos high and the erephos from the roof. So the high-roofed house. All the good houses in Homer are always high-roofed. So just to do that bit again. So the brightness up and down the high-roofed house of glorious Menelaus was as of the sun and of the moon. Auta epe ta pesan horomenoi ophthalmoisin. But when looking, they had derived joy for their eyes. So when they had enjoyed with their eyes looking, so when they had their pleasure from looking at this house, Bantes, stepping into asaminthus, stepping into baths which were well polished, they bathed. Now this is this noun, the asaminthos, any of these words with an nthos in them, generally regarded as pre-Greek. It's not a Greek root, this thing. So these baths must have been some sort of pre-Greek idea. The idea of having baths and bathing rather than just going into the sea to bathe. So having got into these baths, which were euxestas, I think well polished, they bathed. This is from luo, in the middle is to wash, to bathe. Luo in the active is to wash someone else, and then luomai in the middle is to bathe yourself. Tus depe un demoai, lusan kai krisan elio. But when, therefore, now these are female servants, bathed them. Good thing between the good comparison between the middle and active here. We've had it in the middle to bathe, and now we're getting luo in the active to wash someone else. So when the female servants had washed them and anointed them elio with oil, with olive oil, amphidara kleinas ulas balon a ketonas. The amphi goes with the ballo, so they placed around them woolen kleinas. These are cloaks or outer garments, and ketones, these are the inner garments or tunics. Es rathronus hesdon to par atreiden Menelaus, and they caused them to sit, so they sat them down on thrones, well, perhaps high-backed seats for Thronos here, beside Menelaus, son of Atreus. Kerniba, this is from kernips. You can see the roots are here. You've got care, the hand, and the nib or nips from nipto, to wash. So this is water used to wash your hands with. So when the servants bringing it in a beautiful golden ewer, sort of a water pot, had poured out the water for washing your hands with, and they poured it out above a silver lebase basin. This is from lebase, third declension noun, silver basin. So the idea was you've got a basin underneath, you've got the water in a jar above, the servant pours the water down onto your hands, you wash your hands, and the water falls down into this lebase, into this silver basin. And then we get an epexegetic infinitive, nipsasthai, so as to wash. So for washing of the hands, or for washing. The infinitive originally was an old dative, and so you can see the sort of vestiges of that here. So just to do that bit again, the Amphipolis, the servant, carrying it, female servant carrying it, in a beautiful silver water jug, and she was carrying kerniba, water for washing hands. She poured it out above a silver basin for washing for the purpose of washing. Paradixestain etanusi trapezda. Tanuo is literally to stretch out. It's got just more the sense of to place here. It's so she stretched out beside them a polished trapezda table, trapezda, and the august or reverent tamie, stewardess, feminine, tamias in masculine, tamie is the feminine. So bringing it sit on food, paretheke from para plus tithemi, she placed it beside them. Epithesa from epitithemi, having placed on top, this is on top of this trapezda, the table, Eidatapola, much food. And we get this lovely expression, charizomene pariontone, which occurs quite a bit in Homer. It means given freely from that which is present. So the idea is they've got so much stuff there and they just give all of this freely. So given freely from the things which were present. And the ditros, this is the carver, the one who does the carving. Aeras, from Iro, or Aero in Homer, having lifted up Pinakas, from Pinax, these are plates, crayon of meat, he placed it beside them, and it's of all sorts of meats. So you get an enjambment here, the pantoion goes with the crayon, of all sorts of meats. Paradesvi tithe crucia cupella, and he placed golden cups, it's plural, He placed golden cups parasphin perspici beside them. To kai dagnumenos prosephe xanthos Menelaus. And blonde-haired Menelaus. Now, dagnumenos, well, it's a funny word here. It's generally translated as something like with a friendly gesture or something. It has the sense of deignumi, to point, and I think the idea of it was really to toast them, so to point your glass of wine at them. It's like our modern toast, so here's cheers. So, and perhaps I would say toasting the two of them, yellow-haired, golden-haired Menelaus addressed them. Situ kai kairaton. This is an imperative, a dual imperative. Seeing lots of duals in Homer. We get two dual imperatives. This is from haptomai and from Cairo. So it's literally touch the food and be happy. In other words, it's a bit like our tuck in. So touch the, or well, taste or have the food, so enjoy the food and rejoice, be happy. But when, now we get another dual here. I think we have to supply something like, well, we've got to supply something to go with this dual here. I think it's a genitive absolute. So when the two of you, having tasted of the dinner, of the food, so when you've finished eating dinner, a re someth, we will ask who you might be, a dual here, so whoever you are, androne among men. So whoever among men you are. So when you two of you have finished tasting the dinner, we will then ask who the two of you are among men. Ugas phoin gegenos apolale tekeon. For get indeed, literally the race of your parents. So perhaps it's sort of the breeding of your parents. Has not been lost on the two of you. This is a dual again. So the breeding of your parents was not lost in you. So it's paying them a favour, compliment here. But you are the race of men who are kings nourished by Zeus. And these are kings which are sceptre holding. This is from that, you get scaptron is the sceptre, there's no row here, but you get scaped root here, and the ook is from echo, the holding, ones who hold the sceptre. So for you are of the race of sceptre-bearing kings, of men nourished by Zeus. Epe uke kakoi toi us di tekoen. Since base men, well, it's literally evil men, but perhaps base men, would not bear toiusdi such as you, or such sons, toiusdi. The tekoion is optated from tikto, the aorist is etekon. So since base men would not give birth to men such as you. And that is the next section of Book 4.